Fala pessoal, eu sou o Kelvin Araújo, estamos aqui para mais um vídeo no nosso canal. Antes de eu falar do que se trata o vídeo de hoje, eu peço para que vocês adotem o procedimento padrão de sempre. Abrir o vídeo, deixar o like, ativar o sininho para as notificações. Não se esquecer de se inscrever no nosso canal caso vocês não sejam inscritos. E também nos acompanhar nas nossas redes sociais, Facebook Progland, Instagram Progland Land. Se você produz música, conhece alguém que faz música, por favor envie o seu material no Groover para nós, conta prog_land, e também acompanhe o nosso site proglandmusica.wordpress.com com resenhas e entrevistas exclusivas com artistas nacionais e internacionais que vocês não vão encontrar aqui no nosso canal, proglandmusica.wordpress.com. Por último, mas não menos importante, por favor, contribuam para a nossa campanha, que nós já estamos abertos a ela há um tempo, de arrecadação aqui para o nosso canal, para nós contratarmos um editor de vídeo, termos mais vídeos publicados em menos tempo e, além do mais, também aprimorarmos o layout do nosso site e termos mais conteúdos gratuitos, entre aspas, e universais a todos, né? A contribuição é de 5 a 10 reais mensais, um valor bem simbólico, e contribuindo todos um pouco, você já ajuda o nosso canal a aprimorar nossas atividades. Introdutório feito, eu vou falar um pouco da entrevista de hoje, né, que vocês vão acompanhar aqui. Como vocês mesmo já viram no título, a entrevista é com Steve Rothery, ninguém mais, ninguém menos que um dos grandes guitarristas da história do prog nos últimos 40 anos, né. A entrevista foi feita em ocasião da divulgação do seu novo projeto, o Bioscope, projeto que ele fundou junto com Thorsten Koenschning, tecladista e arranjador do Tangerine Dream, que também nós conversamos aqui já no canal. Inclusive, parte dessa colaboração já tinha sido aventada em uma das pautas da entrevista que o Ramon fez com ele algum tempo atrás aqui no nosso canal, que vocês também podem encontrar aqui. E falaremos, claro, sobre essa colaboração e falaremos sobre o novo disco, o primeiro disco, na verdade, da dupla, que é Gento, que vai sair mundialmente na próxima sexta, dia 22, e que nós já ouvimos antecipadamente, já fizemos a resenha no nosso site. Nós deixaremos, inclusive, o link da resenha aqui na bio. Nós deixaremos o link, na verdade, nos comentários fixados para que vocês olhem, vejam e tudo mais, né? E já sintam, entre muitas aspas, o que é o disco. Nós ouvimos antecipadamente, tivemos acesso ao álbum antecipadamente. E foi uma entrevista maravilhosa. Ele falou do projeto, falou do surgimento do projeto e, claro, falou de Marillion, falou dos 40 anos da banda. Falou dos 40 anos, dos mais de 40 anos do grupo, e principalmente dos 40 anos do Misplaced Childhood. Falamos também sobre os 30 anos do Afraid of Sunlight, passagens, momentos curiosos da história da banda, também momentos curiosos dele com outros guitarristas e tudo mais, reflexões sobre streaming, sobre a própria... o próprio trabalho fundador do Marillion hoje, dentro do aspecto digital da era do streaming. Vale lembrar que a banda foi uma das pioneiras, se não a pioneira do crowdfunding na música. Enfim, esse e muitos outros assuntos vão estar nessa entrevista. Eu espero que vocês gostem, e se gostarem, por favor, não deixem de comentar abaixo. Boa entrevista a todos. Estamos aqui em mais uma entrevista no nosso canal, e uma entrevista com ninguém mais, ninguém menos que uma lenda das 6 cordas, uma lenda da guitarra, um músico fenomenal, a legend of 6 strings, Steve Rothery here. Thank you very much for your patience, for your accepting, for your good willing for this interview.
My pleasure.
And my pleasure too, of course, because, man, Marillion's one of my favorite bands ever. You're one of my favorite guitarists ever, you know. And
thank you.
It's very important for me, this interview. We have a lot of things to cover, okay. And we're gonna start this interview talking about, of course, your new project, Bioscope, and with we from Progland had heard the album Gentle in advance. The album will be released in 22 August, I think, 22nd August, I think.
Yeah.
And the album's really, really, really exquisite, beautiful. It's atmospherical, and that's that kind of hearing, that kind of album that takes you into another world, another dimension. And I need to ask about the conception of that record, because you had previously played live with Tangerine Dream for a series of shows in 2022, I think, or 2023. Yeah. Throughout your career, you play live with other 50,007, other artists as a guest in various settings, cameo appearances. I love that expression. But I wanted to ask, what sparked the formation, the origin of the Bioscope? What led you to transform this one-off live appearance into a studio outfit with Thornton questioning?
Well, this kind of goes all the way back, really. We're on the Cruise to the Edge, the music festival, prog music festival at sea, together in 2014. And then Thorsten came along to a Marillion show in Berlin in 2018, in December. And we met for coffee, and we talked about the possibility of maybe it's working together. I was very familiar with Tangerine Dream. I'd listened to them when I was growing up. Stratosphere and Ricochet, those two albums.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understood them, I think. So I flew over then in 2019, just for a couple of days, to Berlin. We just knocked a couple of ideas around. I thought, this is promising. Then in March 2020, Thorsten was in London. He had a solo show there, and we did a day of playing together at the Racket Club at the Marillion studio. And that went really, really well. There was a great chemistry between us. I found what he did very exciting, and I just did what I did over it. And it seemed to be a really interesting mixture of our two worlds. And it gradually, then we had the pandemic and everything shut down. But then I think it was December 21, I flew to Berlin again for about 5 days, and we started to work on the ideas, and I'd kind of go over every year or two, just for like 5 days or a week at a time, and gradually we built up this picture, this collection of interesting music. So that's how the musical side was born. The identity of Bioscope, the name and the name of the tracks, happened last year in December. The last session we did together, which is when we also decided about putting real drums on the record. But I was trying to find something a concept for the record, because once you name the tracks, in a strange way, they become more real. They kind of tell you what they need in terms of direction and how to finish them. So once we got to that point, once I'd researched it and find that Bioscope, or Bioscope as it was in Germany, was one of the very early film projection systems developed in Berlin in the 1800s by two brothers, and I thought that'd be a really cool name for the project. And then I because I love photography and cinematography as well, I kind of looked through all the parallel worlds when it came to naming the other tracks and tying them together with this basically man's love of the moving image throughout the centuries. So that's how that side came together.
Yeah. And beyond, you see that you guys aimed to build a concept for the record. You guys use it to do improvisation in a live setting with Tangerine Dream in those shows. Beyond that, what other subjects or points do you guys try to do something differently from that previous collaboration? Because there's a lot of differences you know, on that album, and to what you guys previously do. You have a drummer, you have Alex Reeves from the All Boy, amazing guy.
Yeah,
And
great.
how he entered the project too.
Well, again, that was last December. We were in Berlin. We were deciding that, okay, we've got some great music here. I think we can finish the album, but I think a real drummer would really add something. So we spent several hours looking online at all these different drummers, some of whom were just too technical, I suppose is the best way to describe it. And
Mm-hmm.
a friend of mine, Matt Pryor, who plays guitar with Bonnie Tyler, had worked with Alex and done some sessions with him and really recommended him. So Thorsten and I checked out his work and we really loved his style. And I messaged him. He was in Australia on holiday at the time, but I sent him some of the rough ideas, and he was so enthusiastic about the music that we thought, yeah, we got to try this guy. So Thorsten flew to London in March of this year, and we went to Alex's studio, and he recorded all the drums in 2 days, plus an extra day to edit them. And he added this. He kind of made the track sound complete. That's the only way I can describe it. Adding this organic live layer, and yeah, really, I think for me, transformed them.
Yeah. And listening to the album, I one of the things that most struck me on that record, that the capacity that you had to sound different. You know, you always recycle yourself in your careers, and analyzing other albums, proper the Ghost Pripyat, the working that you done with the Wishing Tree, and you are the guy who's been melodic on the guitar. You are the melodic master of the guitar, in the chords, in the solos, and this album showed you in a really avant-garde verge. You know, your guitar experiments with some metallic processed tones,
Exactly,
some
yeah.
unusual chords. From a guitarist's perspective, what that record added to your career, to your experience as a guitar player with almost 50 years of experience?
Well, I've always used pedals. I used one of the early Roland guitar synths all the way back in 1984 on a Sassing, and then again on Misplaced Childhood. So I've always been looking for unusual sounds. And these days with technology, there's loads of amazing pedals you can get, which, you know, manipulate the sound in really unusual ways. One of the sounds I use on Vanishing Point, it's an Eventide H90 pedal, and it sounds like icicles. That's the only way I can describe it. It's such an unusual sound. So for me, it's just a challenge. You know, you have these long, like that 20 minutes of instrumental music. You've got to try and make it interesting. You've got to try to add melody, but also you've got to approach it like different textures, almost like a keyboard player, I suppose. But we both produced this record. We didn't have an independent producer, so, you know, we brought our own understanding and adventurous spirit, I suppose, to the record.
The record has a really spontaneous feel. Did you guys re-record it or rework it, some sections or whatever? I felt that it's really straightforward. You know, it's very very direct. You know, it has the sound features a lot of textures, a lot of layers, but it's very straightforward. It's very direct. You know.
Yeah, it is really. I mean, it wasn't really, the only way it was developed would be sometimes you would edit sections down, and like add additional parts. But the basic structure of the ideas came from the improvisations. But because something like Vanishing Point, it's maybe got 12 different sections, so it's how you flow from one to the other. You know, you're looking at it in a kind of like almost cinematic way. So it's like a soundtrack, a bit like the Ghost of Pripyat. It's like a soundtrack for an imaginary movie, but this is a lot more kind of ambient and electronica mixed in with everything else.
Is there any additional material for the second one? Are you guys planning something for the future, for the near future?
Yeah, we will make another album together for sure. As it was when we got some concerts in December, and obviously we're going to need to play more music than just the hour of the album. So there's a couple of the ideas from that initial writing session at the Racket Club that I think we might well use live. And we will do some improvisation. I mean, there are great musicians. We've got Alex is playing live with us. Got my friend Dave Foster from my solo band is playing second guitar for me. So, you know, it's going to be a great live band. We've got an amazing visuals. We've got fantastic videos for each of the tracks. We're going to have
Who's doing the visuals?
Sorry?
Who is doing the visuals? I love that those really visuals, you know?
Yeah, we got most of the tracks. It's a guy called Patrick Dunn, an English guy.
Oh, yeah.
The Gento track, the last video that just went up on YouTube, it's a video that's done by my daughter, Jennifer Rothery, and she did that and did a great job. So we had a Dolby Atmos playback in London on Thursday with the visuals, and I mean it was mind blowing. Really, it's something I wish people could experience the record in that way. We've got another one in London in September, but my idea was we should try and do this around cinemas around the world, where you just go and you play the album with a Dolby Atmos system with these amazing ultra high resolution graphics, and maybe one day we will try that.
Oh yeah, I ask it because I love the visuals, because when you heard the track, you had the visuals. It's always like a painting a canvas, you know. You just merging those sounds, those keyboard lines into aspects that create visuals, create lives in other worlds, in other galaxies or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
No, Patrick's done an amazing job representing the music in the video, really, and it's really beautiful transitions that he's got that coincide with the music, and it's very special.
Now I need to talk about another collaboration of you that's being hinted for a certain point, and I was pleasantly happy that you guys had come to fruition. That was a collaboration between you and Steve Hackett. How far along? Steve posted a photo of you and I think it was Roger King on keyboards.
It was actually Ricardo Romano from my solo band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's playing keyboards and producing and engineering for us.
Oh.
While co-producing. So yeah, it's going very well. I think we'll have the album finished by the end of the year, and it'll probably come out sometime next year in a time that doesn't clash with anything else, because obviously the new Marillion album will also be out next year, so I have to be careful not to clash with that.
Oh yeah. Are you guys recording in this moment, right?
No, we start working together in about another 3 weeks. We had all the Marillion weekends all around the world the first half of this year. Then we had a little break for a holiday, and then August the 12th we'll all be in the studio again till the end of the year, pretty much finishing the Marillion album.
Did you remember the first time you actually know him, you actually meet him? Because I'm a hardcore Genesis fan, as I am a hardcore Marillion fan, and of course there's some similarities between your guitar work and Steve's guitar work, and I would like to know how this rapport began.
Well, we've kind of known each other for many years, really. I played on a charity single for him. I went along to see when he was doing his classical solo tour. He did a festival that we did in Germany back in the mid '80s, some point.
Right.
Obviously, Ian Mosley knew him well because he was in his band for a while. But I suppose it was about 15 years ago at a dinner around at Stephen Wilson's house that Steve and Joe Hackett were around there, and we kind of got talking. I just got on really well. He invited me to play with them at the it was at the Hammersmithonian when they did the Lamia joint solo together, which went really well, and we kind of became really good friends over the years. We go out for dinner quite regularly. Both our wives are called Joe, which is a coincidence, but they get on very well. So yeah, it's a really nice thing. And Steve said something the other day actually that what he loves about the record we're doing together is it feels like an extension of our friendship, which is a really lovely thing. And the funny thing, as we listen to some of the music, we can't sometimes tell who's playing what.
I suppose I felt that Steve's I interviewed him. He's a very sort of really nice bloke, you know, easygoing to talk. And how was the difference between working with Torsten and working with Steve, analyzing those recent collaborations, you know, not counting the guys of Marillion because you played with them for 10,000 years.
I think most of the ideas that have come on the Steve Hackett are ideas that I came up with. Not all of them. There's some things that we wrote together in the studio, but a lot of the basic ideas, you know, came about because I was feeling inspired when, you know, we did several sessions together in the studio, and yeah, what's the amazing thing for me is just to hear him play on stuff in maybe in a way that I haven't heard him play for quite a long time. So it's quite magical to hear.
Yeah. I'd like to move into a guitarist type question again, you know.
Okay.
You mentioned it in a recent Marillion weekend QA session in the Marillion weekend. I think it was in Padua or whatever. You posted the whole QA in YouTube channel, you know, with Lucy and the other guys, that Jeff Beck is your number one guitarist. And you said that you met him once, but you didn't go into more details, and I would like to ask about that experience, because I was curious about that. You know?
Yeah, no, I
wasn't surprised. I was surprised it.
It was
because I surprised it because I thought that you can't go.
Yeah, no, I mean, my three main influences would be Dave Gilmour, Steve Hackett, and Andy Latimer. But the reason I think Jeff Beck is so special is I think out of all musicians, he's someone who's never at any point lost the fire in his playing. You know, he approached the guitar in a certain way and developed a style and a touch and a melodic sense, and the way he used the arm is just unique, just a unique voice. And yeah, it's very sad when we lost him.
You said that you met him once. Right?
Yeah, just in the there's a studio complex where we worked called West Side, where we recorded a lot of Clutching at Straws, and let's see, there was another album we did that. I mean, we mixed Thieving Magpie there, and he was just in the studio one day, and I just sort of said hi. So yeah, he seemed like a nice guy, you know. Obviously a legend, but some legends feel like, you know, they're telling you they're a legend, where Jeff just seemed quite normal.
I was surprised in seeing you there. You sitting him as the number one, because now that you have talking about the reason why you choose him as the number one, I get better your point, because
right.
your three melodic influences that I heard when I hear your guitar play, I always thought, oh, Andrew Latimer, Steve Hackett, and David Gilmour. You know, yeah. I know that you're huge fan of Pink Floyd, and Eight used to joke that if depended on for you, Marillion would be playing only Pink Floyd all the time, you know.
Yeah, no, that's not true. But
Yeah, yeah,
I think we try and make interesting records, and you try very hard not to repeat yourself. And when you've made so many albums, that becomes quite difficult. But yeah, you just try and do something that works in the context of the song. I think guitarists' first duty is to play for the song. It shouldn't be about your ego. It shouldn't be about showing people what an amazing technique you have. You play what makes the song better.
Have you ever met him, David Gilmour? I never knew that.
I've been in the same room as him several times. I've even been backstage in his dressing room. But I've never had the nerve to say, "Hey, Dave, I love your playing," just because that's just not who I am. It's like my other influences. I know Andy Latimer. I gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Prog Awards about 10 years ago. And get on well with him. Get on really well with Steve Hackett. And maybe one day I'll get to meet Dave Gilmour. I think he's only doing one more album and tour, and then he's going to retire. So I better hurry up.
Yeah. This year marks 40th anniversary of Misplaced Childhood. You recorded that album in Hansa Studio, Berlin, Germany, during a divided time, in divided Germany before the Berlin Wall came down in the 80s. What's your fondest memory from making that album? Do you had? I suppose you have one, I didn't have any memories doing that album. I didn't have any great memories,
I've got a lot of memories. We had a great time. We think we all aged about 5 years in the 2 or 3 months we were in Berlin. It was a pretty wild place. And we would work until 7 or 8 o'clock, then go out for dinner, usually drink too much, come back and work again. But just really wild times, really crazy things. But a lot of fun, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Berlin at the time was just unlike anywhere else in the world. It's still an amazing city now. It has a unique energy. But then you kind of really felt like it was an island in the middle of this Eastern Bloc. It was very high energy and almost kind of manicness to it. But a very magical place.
I would like to do a more of a really personal question now related to that album. In your opinion, in your POV, what makes it so enduring? Because every time the people now 40 years later, the Lavender, Kaylee, Bittersweet, Heart of Lothian, all of the tracks are so enduring for the public. Every single person remembers when they bought the album back in 1985 or whatever. What makes it?
I honestly don't know. I think it was just very natural. I wrote nearly all of the music on that record, and it was just a very creative time. The thing is, the more success you have, the more almost self-conscious you get about the writing process, and the more problems start to surface with egos and everything else. But on that record, it was just everyone was pulling in the same direction. Like I say, I had one idea after another, and it just kind of came together.
Yeah. Some time ago, you talking about Marillion albums. You stated that your favorite Marillion album, Set Me Straight, if you changed your opinion or whatever, is Afraid of Sunlight, who is completing another anniversary this year, 30th anniversary. Do you still stand by that? If so, what makes that album so special too?
Yeah, I think all our albums have outstanding tracks on
it.
The great thing about Afraid of Sunlight is that I don't think there's a weak track on it, and I think all the tracks are so diverse, but they work really well. It's just an amazing collection of songs. It came at a difficult time. We knew that we were probably going to be dropped by EMI after Brave, and it's a way of kind of celebrating the band as it was, and putting two fingers up to the record company, because we thought, well, if you can drop us when we're still selling 400,000 albums and made probably one of the best albums of our career, then how crazy is the world?
Yeah. And that record was really the final years of EMI or whatever. Did you fear the band would disband that time in This Strange Engine? Because your manager back then had said that, suggested that you and the other guys would start doing part-time jobs to complement money,
Yeah, we sacked him after that. Thing is, it was one of those
Thankfully,
things.
you have Lucy now. Thankfully,
yeah, exactly.
You have
Lucy does a great job. But we did suffer. We didn't realize what a great job EMI did, even when they didn't. It was still a huge machine, and they would have a team in each country, each territory. Where with Castle, some countries had good people and did a good job, other countries not so. And then you see your sales going from selling 400,000 to selling 150,000 to selling 100,000 to selling 80,000, and it gets pretty desperate, really. It was only when we made the decision to sack our manager and to approach the fans with the idea of what became crowdfunding with Arachnophobia that we turned a corner and saved the band, really.
Yeah. And I think it was during that time, I would like to now to ask about the writing process of Marillion. You guys used it for a long time, still use long improvisational sessions in the studio where you listen back and pick up the best parts. No pre-writing material, right?
Yeah, well, that's how we've approached it for the last 20 years. Before that, it was more people would have ideas and bring them. But, it works differently with different producers. Dave Meegan, he would listen to all the ideas. He would suggest, well, you combine this idea and this idea, try this key, try this tempo, try this drum part. And he helped us to arrange the music. With Mike, it kind of turned more into, well, let's just all see what comes out of the improvisations. And I think sometimes that could work well. Sometimes it can be a long, slow process. When it works well, you have some amazing things, but it still depends on at least one person having a great idea, whether or not they have that idea at home, then bring it into the studio, or they have it in the studio in the moment, which a lot of our great ideas are born in the moment. Sometimes it's a chemistry thing. We still have a great way of working together, especially with Pete and myself. I think we can really take the germ of an idea and really develop it.
Do you remember a track that kind of paved the way for the band during that method more intensively,
I think it really started working well when we got to Sounds That Can't Be Made, for me. A track like Gaza, maybe. I couldn't imagine really some of those sections coming about any other way.
I would like to ask about, of course, to something that is related to that, but it's a more way back, to the origins. There are songs that the Marillion doesn't play anymore because 8 had said he doesn't relate to the lyrics anymore. And I would like to ask, there are any songs that are not played live because the other members didn't want to? or whatever.
I
But
think
it's open to it, but you guys don't want.
yeah. I mean, there's some songs that maybe H wouldn't mind playing, but you know, nobody else would want to play. Tracks like Most Toys, you know, some Circular Ride, State of Mind. I think you always want to play what you think are your best songs, and I think you know there has to be a consensus within the band as to what those songs are, and you can tell. I mean, Mike Hunter, our producer, can tell because you know he's spent the last 20 years mixing live shows, so you know you can hear which ideas go down the best, and you know which of those classic tracks, the Great Escape, the Afraid of Sunlight, you know those sort of pieces of music that just transcend, I think. So yeah, no, we normally agree. I mean, that's it. It's good that I do my shows with my solo band because I get to play some of the really old songs from the Fish years with my guys that I wouldn't otherwise get time or chance to play.
Yeah. You often revisit full live albums during the weekends. Is there one that was harder to revisit for some reason that oh I couldn't I didn't remember that song or some songs on that album was so demanding or whatever.
Songs take a lot more work. I mean, really, from the Fear album, New Kings, it's like an exam. The amount of different parts you have to remember, the sound changes, capo changes. Yeah, sometimes keeping it all in your head can be a challenge, especially as you get older.
Yeah. Now I'd like to bring out a sort of not a Pandora box because he's a very great guy. You know, another guy from our team, Iago. He's from Brazil here. He's not from Rio de Janeiro as I am. He's from Minas Gerais, but he's a huge fan of your work. He nearly fainted when I told him that I was going to interview you, and he wanted to do a question for you. He originally had passed the question for me to do it for you, but I told him why you do the in person for him. Even thought we're in a computer, but anyway. Now he's entering and doing the question. Hi, Iago.
Hey. Hi.
Hello, Mr. Steve. I am a really big fan of your work. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Cheers. Thank you.
I hope he's able to do that question. He didn't faint during the question. Oh yes. Why, Steve? Why you do?
I actually wrote it down.
Ah, good.
I actually wrote it down. Well, you see, I am a really big enjoyer of live albums. And I actually made a slide presentation cataloging every Marillion live album in recording order.
Wow.
Just because there's so many, so I felt like I had to organize them for myself, you know. So like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to listen to, I don't know, the Somewhere Else tour. These are the albums, you know. I don't have to like look for them in so many different places, you know,
Right.
because the albums weren't released in recording order. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is actually about the Front Row Club bootlegs.
Right.
You know, since there are no physical Front Row Club releases being made anymore, and since there are some really rare stuff in there, you know, like for example, H singing Cinderella Search Our Freaks, for example,
Right.
some stuff you don't get to hear in I don't know, in normal Marillion live albums.
Yeah.
Do you guys plan on re-releasing any of these concerts in the future?
So you mean releasing those Front Row Clubs as downloads? Is that what you're asking? Oh.
Well, I was thinking more of physical releases, you know, because I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of CDs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a funny thing, you know. It's like you'd have to manufacture probably 1,000 to make it economically viable, and then depending on how many live albums you've got, that's a lot of warehouse space just to, you know, suddenly you've got 20,000 live albums, and maybe these days,
plenty of CDs, you know.
yeah, but maybe these days people do, on the whole, prefer to stream their music. So it's unlikely you would really sell them all. So, you know, unless you did a thing where you could burn people a CDR if they wanted to have something on CD, that's probably the only way I could see it would be viable to do that, just because the costs are relatively high, and you would only sell maybe between 50 and 100 copies.
Yeah.
Thanks, Iago.
Thank you very much. It was a
Cheers.
pleasure to be able to speak with you, man.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you.
Okay.
And now we're back to our normal conversation. You know, he was too nervous to do more than one question. You know.
Okay.
And he's a massive fan. He has everything cataloged, and I discovered a lot of the live records by him, because, you know, there's a thousand front row clubs released, 1,000 of shows. So that's really cool, you know, because you had everything available to the public. You have the streaming service. And do you think that these streaming services, their own Marillion streaming service, the party, will set a precedent for the other bands' futures? Because, you know, there's this war of streaming, the revenue to the artists, and things like that.
Yeah, you have to try and find a way to make it pay, because, I mean, as an artist, your royalties on the normal streaming services, on the Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon, and, you know, your royalties on YouTube or Instagram, it's just so small. You know, if you've got millions of streams, then it can start to generate some income, but you really have to have 200 million streams to generate any real amount of income. So, you know, you look around and you think of the different ways you can try and make things work, you know, and we're lucky we can do the pre-orders, and there'll still be 20,000 people who will want to pre-order a physical CD or a special edition or a vinyl, and that kind of runs the band for a year, really. But most of the royalties after that, you know, it's okay. We do better than a lot of bands, but you know, we're not Taylor Swift. I mean, the Marillion weekends really help, and the tours help to a certain degree. But Marillion weekends, again, is one of the ways to keep the band afloat.
Yeah, talking about Marillion weekends, regarding that, you had of course, a really strong fan base in South America, especially here in Brazil. You had done a fantastic live record, amazing Marillion weekend in Chile, 2017. You play, I think in one night you played .com, and another night you played the selection from Clutching at Straws, and the mixed set list for a third night or whatever. Is there a chance we'll get another Marillion weekend in South America, and especially here in Brazil? Because I need to confess for you, we're absolutely missing you here. In the last decade, you used to do shows every couple of years in a one period, 2012, 2014, 2016. And when I discovered Marillion, it was circa 2015, 2016, and I was hoping, he's going to they're going to Brazil in 2018, and it sadly didn't happen, and it didn't happen anymore. Why that? We want a new visit for Brazil in 2026.
Well, it's complicated. I mean, you know, I came to South America with my solo band, and which was a great
2017, I think.
Yeah, but everything changed after the pandemic. I think maybe everything became more difficult. And the other problem is that Marillion, when we tour, it's a big organization. You know, we take a lot of equipment, we take a lot of crew, and it doesn't always mean that it's economically viable to come and tour some countries. You know, unless a promoter is going to guarantee a high enough fee so we don't risk losing a lot of money. You know, it would be great to do a Marillion weekend in Rio. I mean, if we could sort out the logistics and have the right promoter and make sure that everything is really well organized. But I don't know if it'll ever happen. I mean, Mark Kelly's wife is Brazilian. In fact, he's in Brazil at the moment. So you never know.
Oh yeah, it would if it won't happen a Marillion weekend. Only a show it would be really satisfying, you know, because Brazil has a plenty of Marillion fans. You know, you had those people who knows the albums from top to bottom, not only the hits and whatever, you know. And that was really huge, you know. When I knew a sort of fan convention online, there's a considerable amount of people who were or who are from Brazil, and I was, wow, Brazil is a very strong Marillion fan base, you know. It was the most memorable concert of your career in 1990, you know, Hollywood Rock.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I know there's been talk about us coming over and playing a big festival in Brazil, but I don't know if that's still happening. I haven't had confirmation of that. But if there's a way of making it happen, we will try.
I would like to ask now a sort of random question, you know. Dates back from the beginning of Marillion, something really trivial from the band history or whatever. In 1983, you guys played for some months. You are a huge Camel fan, you know.
Yeah.
Andrew Latman and Andy Ward played with Marillion in '83. Play a series of shows. How was that experience? Fish used to say that in the band in the early years, and I tended to agree with him, sounded a little bit like Camel, you know. You sounded like Andy's guitar playing, and Andy had noticed that, and had told something for you about this connection, or how was this period?
It was very strange, you know. When I joined, I was really happy. He was one of my favorite drummers. Very great groove, very lyrical drummer.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it became more complicated. Andy had some problems, which is why he'd left Camel. I don't know how much to go into this, but anyway, he's got an injury that restricted his playing a little bit, and he did the tour with us, and maybe it was a bit too soon for him to be going out on the road again. He was missing his girlfriend, but you know, he got to the point where he couldn't really function properly, and he was unhappy, and we had to cancel the tour at the end. Well, before the end, and it was a shame because, you know, Andy's a nice guy, an amazing drummer, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. And we're coming to a final part of this interview, and I would like, all this interview was about your work as a guitar player, and I would like to ask about your listening experience to other artists, to other guitar players. Do you discover or rediscover guitarists in your free time? You listen to new guitar players or guitar players that you haven't heard for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're always hearing new players. I mean, you can't get past social media, Facebook or YouTube, without there being some new music. But I mean, these days I tend to listen more to songs than guitar players. You know, I'm more interested in hearing great songs. But I mean, sometimes you hear guitarists that impress you. We went to see one of my daughter and my wife's favorite band and my son's favorite band in Bristol about 4 or 5 months ago. It was a Canadian band called Peach Pit. And the guitarist really impressed me, not only with his playing, but the fact that he was doing it while he was running around the stage like a madman. Not quite sure how he did it, but yeah, loads of really, really cool riffs and yeah, very nice playing. But yeah, you know, you just want to hear something. I'd rather hear melody and emotion than technique.
Mm-hmm.
There's some incredible technical players around. But the ones that impress me most are the ones that I find moving, as opposed to just, oh wow, listen to the speed of that technique, you know.
Mm-hmm. You have said that you rather listen songs than other guitar players. Do you have an all-time favorite song?
I tend to listen to yeah. I mean, one of my all-time favorite bands, A Crowded House. I think Neil Finn's an amazing songwriter.
Oh yeah.
And I love a lot of what he's played over the years, and he's had some great guys playing with him. So yeah, he's probably the Woodface album by Crowded House.
Oh yeah, that album was amazing. You know, I like even the hits. Don't Dream It's Over is a very, very beautiful song too.
Yeah, no, it's a really great song. A guy called Tim Pierce plays guitar.
And you have an all-time favorite Marillion song. I think this is one hard to pick up one, you know.
I'd probably say The Great Escape.
Oh yeah, why that?
Because it's got these different like stages, different movements, different sounds. But I think it encapsulates what makes this special as a band. You know, the emotional intensity. And the thing where the guitar and the vocal is kind of like almost in a dance, and it has an intensity to it that is, yeah, it just feels like it works well.
Yeah, and now coming to the final question of this interview, if you had, I always ask the artists who I interviewed with, if you had to define your guitar style as a word, what word would it be? But I will redo the question for you, because I always consider Marillion and your work as a cinematic thing, you know. Neverland is like a mini movie, or The Man from the Marzipan is like a mini movie, or Berlin is like a mini movie, or whatever. And I will redo the question. If you had to define your guitar style as a film, which film would it be? I love this kind of questions.
Probably Blade Runner.
Why that one?
Just because I think it's got such a variety of amazing cinematography and the balance of Vangelis's music. Makes the two things together, transcends the medium. You know, it's just yeah. It can be beautiful. It can be uplifting. It can be sad. It can be powerful. It can be angry. You know, it can be all these things.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Steve. I was honored. I am honored to having the chance to talk with you. I hope that this is the first of many other interviews that we're doing in the near future, promoting new Marillion album is coming out in 2026, and many other projects that you have been is gonna be involved with. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of the work that you've done with Marillion for all of these years, all of those solos, all of Easter, all of Incubus, all of the New Kings, all of the Fear album, the An Hour Before It's Dark album, everything, you know. Thank you very much, man. You're one of my heroes of the lead guitar. Thank you very much. And we hope that we can chat more in the near future.
Good to speak to you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.